Hey, we are in the Healthy Healer Masterclass, and this class is specifically for givers, overgivers, healers of all kinds, um, professional healers like nurses, massage therapists, coaches, and anybody in the medical field or the alternative medical field who it has their hands on people, who is dealing with people who have a lot of big traumas that they're working through, whether that's emotional traumas or if that is, like physical wounds and things like that, because then there's a lot of pain happening, and that's a lot of bombardment of really intense energy. So, it causes us who are empathic, us who are natural overgivers, us who are natural healers, to want to pour our heart out and have lots of compassion, and we really care. And this is one of the things that causes, um, you know, over the pitfalls of being a healer and having that burnout and losing your sparkle. So I'm super glad that you're here, and we are going to learn some of the dark side of healing others, like what are those pitfalls. We're going to cover four main pitfalls, and we are going to just, like look at the difference between giving versus overgiving, and what those two things feel like and how they're different, how to identify whether you're a giver or an overgiver. And I'm going to tell you a couple of stories of women that I know, healers who really fell into a deep state of ill health, and what I have learned from them. And that is really the reason that I'm coming to you today, because I don't want you to end up like them. I don't want me to end up like them. So, there are some lessons there, and I am really excited to share with you some of the practices that I use. So, we are also going to be learning how to double your healing power, double your healing energy by using these five practices that create safety in an energy healer or empaths. Look, even like hairdressers who touch people, anybody that is in a profession where you are around people that pour their hearts out to you. um, you know Hairdressers really get a lot of stories, and they really are like big listeners. So they get a lot of like shit dumped on them, emotional shit, and it's not on purpose. They're just a kind of a captive audience, and they maybe ask certain questions about our life and things that are happening, and we just have this natural conversation that flows out about like what's going on in our life. And there are a lot of healers that aren't necessarily in a healing profession, but we do a lot of natural healing. And also, there are a lot of people out there who are natural healers but haven't really stepped into a profession like that yet. Maybe they are using, like me, using your healing gifts to, just to help people in your life, and you have a completely different career. But you find that people seek you out to bend your ear, as they say, tell you their problems, or they ask you for advice on how to feel better. Maybe you're a nutritionist, maybe you are an herbalist, maybe you are, you know, an acupuncturist or a naturopath. Like, there are so many professions that are considered healing professions. And then There are so many of us who aren't in a healing profession, but we use our healing gifts every day for our families, for our partners, for our friends, and in our communities. And so this masterclass is for all of you, no matter how you identify. But if you are a natural born giver, I would encourage you to embrace the idea that you are a natural healer, that that is a natural state of being for you. It doesn't mean that you have to become a Reiki master and, or a therapist. It doesn't mean that you have to pursue a, a soul path of being in a healing profession. It just means that it's okay for you to identify as a healer and to really own that and to feel that and to feel okay about thinking of yourself that way. That's part of what we're going to be covering today, is that sense of somehow being an imposter, that can create guilt and feelings of needing to overgive or overcompensate, and to under receive. So there are two parts of overgiving. There's overgiving and then there's under receiving. So those two parts are actually the same seesaw. It's just one is up and the other one is down. So finding that balance between giving and receiving is really the foundation of this class of being a healthy healer. Okay, so what we are going to do is I am going to encourage you to give me a shout out, say hello, put your name in the comments. Even if you're watching the replay, go ahead and say, hey, I'm a healer. Hey, I'm a giver. Hey, I'm an overgiver. However you recognize yourself in this conversation, go ahead and shout it out. Just go ahead and feel confident in shouting that out, because that's one of the first ways to overcome overgiving. It's one of the first ways to become a more healthy giver, a more healthy healer. Okay, so shout that out. Don't be shy. Go ahead and own it. Own it. All right, so in this Healthy Healer Masterclass, we are going to focus on stopping burnout and getting your sparkle revved up, getting your inspiration, your enthusiasm, your freshness, your energy, and how to be able to give in a way that is healthy for you and brings you energy rather than draining your energy and leaving you feeling exhausted and unwell at the end of the day. So, we're going to be avoiding the dark side of healing others in particular, and what those pitfalls are. So there is a couple of phrases. There's compassion fatigue, and then there's burnout. And, there are a couple different schools of thought on that. One of them is that they're very separate, they're different. The other one is that compassion fatigue is actually a form of burnout. And a lot of people use the terminology burnout as just a general terminology for feeling like you just can't anymore. You just can't anymore. And compassion fatigue actually produces the same feelings of you just can't anymore. When you reach that place of like full stop, can't keep doing what I'm doing and survive. So sometimes we find that we get to that place in a relationship, whether it's a friendship, a lover, or even a parent. Sometimes we have to let go of family members that are toxic for us. Sometimes we have to let go of friends, partners, marriages. Sometimes we get to that place where it's just like, wow, I can't give another drop to this. It's like I'm dry. That well is dry. So, one of the things that we can do is recognize when that's coming before it actually happens so that you can avoid that pitfall altogether. So, the four main energy drains, what I'm going to look at is the root causes because that's what I'm all about. I'm all about untangling and finding what's underneath. So lifting up the rock and looking underneath it because there's all the stuff that's going on the surface. There's all the overgiving, and all the feelings that are associated with that, and then there's what's underneath those behaviors and those feelings. So what we're going to be doing is lifting those rocks and taking a look at underneath and identifying some root causes for those main energy drains. We're also going to be working on my favorite, which is amping up your healing power. And always, this is not a quick fix. This is, it takes some time to really reestablish the healthy forms of giving. So, I'm going to take you through my favorite safety practices that help me maintain a healthy giving practice. And and we're going to be doing that for both professional healers and also for all the rest of us. The highly empathic, highly sensitive souls, those who are super compassionate beings and just feel that deep need to give and give and give and give. So we're going to be working on healthy practices for whether you consider yourself on one side or the other, and coming up with some really good solutions for you. So stay tuned. All right, so here's the thing. The pitfalls of healing can cause real illness in healers. I know healers who've ended up with, like, on their deathbed or actually dying from illnesses that were very clearly compounded by their some unhealthy healing practices. So one woman that I actually went to, she ended up dying of cancer, and I in no way am blaming her or saying that she, got cancer because she had unhealthy healing practices. I just wanted to bring her story into this because, for one reason, I mean, she was an amazing human being. And for another, she was super compassionate. She gave 150% all the time. And, and she taught me so much. I really want to honor her, actually. So, there's this weird fine line between taking responsibility for how you be as a healer and as a giver, and and then being over that line into guilt or blame. So I never want to sound like, oh, it's her own fault that she got cancer because she was an overgiver. No, that's not why I'm bringing her into this conversation. I'm bringing her into this conversation mostly because there are so many people who really are amazing healers. They're amazing at what they do, and they don't have a healthy balance between the giving and the receiving, and because of that, the over giving leaves them totally depleted. And sometimes it's to a point where, we really become physically ill and totally burned out. I myself ended up with adrenal fatigue, which I was really, really sick. And, you know, I have to be honest that that was a situation where I had a family member that I was caring for, who had special needs. And I was also in a relationship that was unhealthy. And I brought a new child into the world. And so there was a compounding of multiple ways in which I was overgiving, and I didn't even have enough time or the wherewithal to imagine how to be a receiver. So, there's no blame on me. I don't blame myself. I don't feel guilt for any of, for getting sick. It's just that it's important to recognize what the situation is and what position you're in so that you can work with what is and figure out strategies to shift what is into a way that's actually going to bring you energy rather than depleting it. That's what this whole conversation is about. So, whether you're in a relationship that requires a huge amount of emotional giving, or if you are in a, if you have a family member that requires a huge amount of physical help, or, and there's a lot of emotional stuff that goes along with that. If you're in a caregiver situation, something like that, those things are very taxing on the giving side, and finding ways to carve out time and emotional space so that you can recharge is really, really important. So that's one type of energy drain, is when you have situations in your life that are really pretty unavoidable, that are dragging at your energy, and you feel really up against a wall, like you're forced to give. The problem with that, and the root to the burnout there, is that oftentimes we feel like we can't get help, or we don't know how to ask for help. And that is a really chronic condition of overgivers, is that there's this fear of letting someone else give to you or being needy. Okay, so we're going to talk about, like what's on that end of things. So, anyway, the first root is that there may be things happening in your life that are causing a state of needing to give way more than what you're comfortable with giving on any other normal day. There are ways to delegate, and there are reasons why we choose not to delegate. And sometimes those reasons are very hidden, and we don't realize what those reasons are. And so here's where I'm lifting the rock up, and we're looking underneath that. And sometimes those reasons are based in our own fear of receiving help, our own fear of, or not feeling worthy, or like we're allowed to receive energy, help, anything. And some of the reasons that can happen are, and I've seen this a lot in clients, is my clients who have, that were raised by a narcissistic parent or step parent. In particular, it seems to be worse if it's a primary caregiver, that conditions the person to always overgive and never expect to receive anything. And also that if they do receive anything, that can be taken away, that it could be usurped in some way, used against them, taken away, or shame. You could be shamed for receiving, as if you were weak, because when the narcissist sees that somebody else is getting attention, whoa, that's not allowed. Absolutely not allowed. And they will do everything to make you feel super bad about receiving anything. So that's what's underneath that rock of not allowing yourself to delegate when you're in a situation that requires that you give a lot. Does that make sense? Okay. So, so having a narcissistic parent is one of those roots that, you know, and also if you've been in a relationship for a really long time with a narcissist, yeah, that can do it too. You know, you spend 20, 25 years, even 10 years with somebody who is a, you know, either a covert or an overt narcissist, then you are, you know, you're really entrenched in that story, in that narcissist environment. And for empaths especially, it has a huge impact, huge. And it can suck the life out of you. So there is another, okay, so, you know, I feel like we've visited that one. I'm going to move on to number two. Number two is when you give healing from your own energy instead of drawing the energy through in order to give it. So, for example, there are lots and lots of healing techniques out there in the world, and lots of healing teachers with a whole variety of training. So, one of the things that I learned when I was learning traditional Usui Reiki is that you never want to give energy from your own stores. You always draw the Reiki healing energy in. It's because you're channeling it. You're drawing in the Reiki healing energy. It flows through your own body and your own energy system, and then you pass that through your own palms, your hands, your healing hands, and share it with another. These are the principles that I teach when I teach Reiki, and I've got that Reiki, first degree Reiki class coming up May 21st, I think is the first day, or May 20th, I don't know. Anyway, if you click on the link in the description here for the free chat, you can find out about the Reiki class. Just schedule a little time for us to have a conversation by phone, and I can, you know, we can discuss anything that you want to ask about, whether it's classes or how to unwind whatever's going on in your life or shift the patterns that you see yourself in that don't feel healthy. So with Reiki, you're channeling the healing energy. It flows through your body, and then you are you're actually passing that through your own energy system, not the other way around either. That's the third one. The third pitfall is that you're bringing other people's energy in and absorbing it into your energy field, into your energy body, and into your physical body in order to transform it and heal it. Because you want to like take away the person's pain or take away the person's suffering, and you take it away into yourself. The huge pitfall, huge. And, you know, with the Reiki training that I do, I teach you how to never have to do that, never. And it could change your whole life, your whole way of interacting with people. If you've been doing that without even really being conscious of it, like, you're interacting with somebody and and they're having a really rough time, and then you go away from them and you feel like absolute crap, just wrecked. Chances are you are drawing in their energy without even really realizing that that's what you're doing. And a lot of people talk about that and say, oh, that person just schmutzed me, as if they did something to you, when in actuality they didn't do anything. They were just having their own energy. And because of whatever reason, whether it's like, the way that you grew up where you always had to take it, but you could never dish it out, or, you were required to take care of other people's emotions in your family. There could be lots of different reasons, or maybe it has to do with past life, attachments or different things like that. There could be lots of different reasons why. And that's something that we could discover in a session where, we can really lift up and look at your particular rocks and see what's underneath them and get that resolved. And you can do that with my link as well. Just you just reach out to me, private message. Just send me a direct message, and I can give you that link. Anyway, yeah. So number one is if you are coming from a place of not being allowed to receive. Number two is if you give energy from your own energy rather than channeling it through safely and then passing that through. And, there are some practices for doing that safely for others, because if you're channeling Reiki or anything else through you and giving it to somebody else, you want to make sure that your energy is really clean, right? Because if you're passing your, upsets and worldly cares and illnesses and different things through you, and it's coming out and affecting that energy that you're also giving, that's not good for the other person that's receiving, is it? Okay, so that's number two. Number three is that you are actually bringing other people's suffering into your own energy system. And look, if that's what's happening, if you're like walking away from somebody who's having a really hard time and you feel super wrecked after that, don't blame yourself. There can be lots of different reasons for that. Sometimes it's totally not your fault. Sometimes your energy system is just so frazzled that you don't have the resources to protect yourself. That's not your fault. That's an indication that you need help. You need help. I can help you. So, sometimes these things are not like fast to resolve. It takes some practice. It takes some reinforcing. It takes some reweaving of your light and energy in order to build up your resilience and your ability to not get wrecked by other people's energy, to build up those stores inside of yourself so that you are like growing your light from the inside out, not from putting up a bubble or a thing and then protecting from the outside in. The best, most powerful way of protection is from the inside out. And I can teach you that in the first degree Reiki class. And I can teach you that in private sessions. And I can help unwind the parts of you, whether it's past life, this life, or, some other reason why you have, a predisposition or an inability to have resilient energy. Sometimes long-term illness can also cause energy instability, and that's not your fault. It's not your fault, but I can help with that. Okay, so number four. Number four is that there are old traumas being triggered by clients or the people that you're around. And they're re-triggering old wounds that are unresolved. So, everybody's got trauma. Everybody's had experiences, whether it's this lifetime, last lifetime, you know, we've been burned at the stake, we've been, tortured, and all kinds of horrible things have happened. We've been stabbed in the back, both literally and figuratively. We have been, betrayed. All kinds of traumas, right? I myself had that weird, like, modern day witch trial that happened to me when I was in my 20s. And that was, in my opinion, that was a replay of past life events. Fascinating stuff. Really fascinating stuff. The person that perpetrated it was playing a role. All the other people that he involved were also playing a role, and I was playing a role. And I really, really feel like that was a replay of past life events. Fascinating. Happily, I got away with my life in this one, but it did take me another 23 years to actually get that cleaned up. So, yeah, I don't want it to take you that long. So, yeah. Okay. So those are the 4 main pitfall roots. So if you have any questions, Bonnie says consistency. Yes, consistency is good. Right. Yep. Yes. Good one. That's right. Yep. Sticking with a consistent plan. I know exactly. Yes. Oh my gosh. Totally appreciate that from you. All right. So how do you double your healing power? How do you double your ability to receive? Because if you think about it, the main thing that you have to be as a healer, especially, like if you're channeling Reiki healing energy, the main thing that you have to be is a receiver. It's counterintuitive, but in order to heal with Reiki, you have to channel it. You have to receive that energy in through your energy system, and then you share. Then you share. And the reason I say share rather than give or heal is that when you share, the other person has the opportunity to reject that sharing. I totally believe in free will. I think it's really super important for us to not be in a state of mind where we're like, oh, we're going to heal. I'm going to heal you. Because that isn't a healthy way of thinking about your healing gifts. It's so important. The ethics are so important of allowing free will of the person to reject whatever it is that you're giving. And so when you word things specifically like sharing, it definitely has this vibration of I'm sharing, and you can bring in whatever parts of that sharing feel healthy and healing, and feel like they're powerfully beneficial to you. So I will get off that high horse now. So in order to double your healing power, I recommend these 5 steps, 5 safety practices. And I'm going to do the first safety practice. There's a couple different variations. One of them is for if you are a professional healer. The other one is for if you are not a professional healer, but you find yourself giving a lot in your daily life, in your work, with your family, whatever. Okay, ready? Oh my gosh, I totally forgot to tell a story. The other story, there was another story that I wanted to tell. I'm going to do that before we do the 5 healing practices, safety practices. So this other woman that that I worked with for a time, um, she had been a healer for a really long time. And, a good portion of her life, way before it was ever popular. And, and then, um, and she was in a relationship, maybe in a really difficult relationship. And after um, that relationship ended, she fell into an extremely deep illness where she felt like she was going to die. And when she came out of that illness, she didn't die. She asked for all kinds of help from all of her guides and helpers, and she did not die. But when she came out of that illness, she was no longer her energy system was just completely wrecked, and she wasn't able to ever do her healing work again. And so I want to tell that story because I've really learned a lot from her example of how to of what not to get caught in, I guess. And I feel like it's really important to learn from the good stuff and also learn from the stuff that's not so great. And that, in my opinion, is not so great. She wasn't able to work her magic anymore. And so I thought about that so much, and how it's really important to me to not end up in that position. And I think this is why I'm so passionate about this conversation about how to be a truly healthy healer and to not get stuck in the pitfalls of overgiving. We were also going to talk about what the difference is between giving and overgiving. So, not to jump around all, but hey, that's kind of my style anyway. So I think, you kind of get the clue there, that there are things that happen in our life and ways that we be, and there are ways that we give. And truly, my thoughts are that she could have healed her energy system. And actually, I did help her. I helped her a lot. And I also witnessed her undoing all of the help. It was fascinating. It was like she couldn't receive it. She couldn't keep it. Whenever there was an ounce of anything there for her, it was given away. It was fascinating. There were a lot of other fascinating things about it too, but I remember noticing that, and noticing that it was a choice. And what she said she wanted and what she actually was doing were really different. She said she wanted healing, and yet as soon as there was any repair of the energy field and more energy was coming in, and she was experiencing some really amazing shifts in her energy, in her aliveness, and in her physical health. Yeah, physical changes. And then she brought in situations that completely undid everything that I had been able to help her with, and more. Oh my gosh, my mind was blown. It was just like, wow. Okay. So I'm telling that story because it's one thing to have an illness and then not really fully ever recover from that. And it's another thing to have an illness and not recover from that because you don't know how to hold on to the energy that you have. Um, yeah, that's just, yeah. And that is the main thing that will cause, fatigue and burnout. And, that is to me, the really dark side of being a healer, whether you're a professional healer or not, a healer or an overgiver, is that what's on the other side of that is that oftentimes people who find themselves in situations where they're completely depleted, burnt out, and are, emotionally exhausted, it's because they don't know how to receive. So, yeah, if you want to learn how to be a healthy healer, I would highly recommend taking the Reiki for first degree Reiki class that I'm teaching, just coming up in a couple weeks. Even if you've already had first and second degree Reiki, I guarantee you that you may not learn any new techniques for the actual healing, but you will learn some other amazing nuggets. And having that weekly practice, I'm doing a 6-week, short form, so hour and a half, 6 times, so that you have plenty of time to really let all of the teaching sink in, get the practice under your belt so that you feel confident, be able to ask all the questions that you want to ask, and feel that sensation of acknowledgement that you are an amazing healer, and the encouragement that I give, and being able to, like, I can track what you're doing, I can watch the way that you're working your energy, and you get a lot out of this 6 weeks, even if you've already had Reiki training. So again, click that link that's in the description and, get on the phone with me so that we can talk about it. And maybe there's something different that you need, not Reiki. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, get on the phone with me. We can talk about it. All right. So let's go to those 5 practices. Let's do that right now. We're going to wrap it up with feeling amazing. Okay. So if you are a practitioner, this practice, this like step 1 has a bunch of different parts. But step 1 for practitioners is what I do before each session. And also at the beginning of my day, just as a blanket thing. If you are not in a profession that requires you to be giving all the time, and look, if you're in a management position, I guarantee you are a giver. You are being of service. So there really are a lot of professions that require a huge amount of compassionate energy and interacting with other humans on that kind of a level. Okay, so basically the first safety practice is a multi-step process, like I said. It's clearing your energy field, it's balancing your energy, and grounding and beefing up your energy skin that's around your energy field. So I can take you through that practice really quick. And I do this a lot with people. So, in my master classes, I often do this type of a practice. So if you've had other master classes with me, or if you want to watch some from before, go ahead and do that, because this practice, if you do this practice at the beginning of each day, if you're not in a profession that requires you to do an extraordinary amount of giving, or if you're not in a relationship, or if you are in a relationship or something like that that does require a lot of giving, if you do this practice every day in the morning, like before you leave your bedroom, then I guarantee you over time, you will have a lot more energy to give, and you will be able to hold on to your energy stores instead of allowing them to just go and go and go and go and go. Like Bonnie says, consistency is the key. Excellent. Okay, so clearing your energy field. For professional energy healers, this should be pretty easy. If you're not a professional energy healer, just see if you can follow along with me. The first, I'm going like this because we have all these different layers to our energy field. But if you start with your hand at your chi center, sometimes called the hara, and what I like to do is I either like to make a heart shape with my fingers right there so that it points that feeling of love right there into my center. And I'm giving love to myself. I'm adding my own energy right into my center. And if you've got your healing palms all revved up, poosh, you'll start to feel warmth, tightening. Sometimes it feels like a tightening right at the very inside of your body, just on the inside of your spine, and boosting up that main energy center, your chi center, the very center of your body. You can do that by imagining that there is a glowing orb of light and it's growing right there at the very center of you. And that is your chi center, your energy, your seat of energy power. Very good, good. And you can imagine that glowing orb is growing and growing, and it's moving all the way out to your hips, and it's rising up through your organs, and it's moving down into your legs, and it's rising up into your lungs and flowing down your arms and consuming your throat, your neck, and all the way down your legs. So pretty soon you are completely engulfed in this glowing orb of light, and it's flowing all around you, and you are inside of it, and it is you. It's your chi, light, and energy. That is your energy. So that is how you power up your energy stores. And then with that, I imagine that as I'm growing that chi ball of light through my body, that it's actually cleansing and clarifying my physical body, my energy, my chakras, like all of me. It's just like clearing out all the clutter. Clearing out all the clutter, all the clutter, all the clutter. And you can use your hands like this and kind of, I'm shaking it because it's kind of like combing. My fingers are apart. I'm kind of combing it through and encouraging, out of my palm chakras, I'm beefing up that energy as it's moving out through me. So it kind of does this like combing, cleansing thing. Okay, so that's how to clear. Balancing your energy, I imagine that my central energy channel is nice and aligned, runs from my crown all the way to my root. An energy suit. I love that, Bonnie. That's great. And that all of my chakras are aligned with the central energy channel that connects me into heaven and into earth, and that all of those chakras are the colors that they need to be, and that they're glowing, and that my energy meridians are all flowing with those chakras, and that my chakras are breathing in and out. They're breathing in all the aspects that they need for the throat chakra. It's truth and releasing lies and the deceptions that we tell ourselves, that kind of thing. And so you can kind of do that with each of your chakras, and that will balance your energy. Um, and then the other thing that's really super important is grounding. So when I say your central energy channel connects you into heaven and into earth, when you imagine that grounding cord and that higher connection cord are completely tethered into your divine source of light, and down into the very core of the earth, the molten golden source energy of the earth, that liquid earth, right down there, and feeling the connection that your earth body has with the earth energy. Ground that, your energy into the earth to feel that sensation of belonging, of connection, of stability, of strength. Yeah, it's also really good for bumping up prosperity and for asking for those things that are going to bring you stability, prosperity, and security, safety in your life. So right now I've got my house up for sale. I'm all like, yeah, we're gonna ground some of that in there. The best buyer, somebody that was going to really love my home and give me a really great price for it and love it and be super happy about it. Right? What is it for you right now that you're really wanting to ground? Something physical, something, tangible that will really bring good, solid security and stability into your life. Do that now. Feel it tethering into that earth connection. Feel your whole body and all of your energy tingling with that request. And now send it up your crown connection, up into your divine source of light. There, that's it. That is the quintessential manifestation process. Anchor it in and then whoosh. They call it releasing. You send it up into the higher consciousness realm, the cosmic consciousness realm, so that all of that little like tingle 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 can go out into the universe, filter down through our earthy planes and touch all the people that are going to help bring that desire into fruition for you. Okay, so we've done clearing, we've done balancing, we've done grounding. Now what we're going to do is boost your energy skin. This is your protection. This is your boundaries, your energetic boundaries. So we have physical skin, keeps our blood and guts in. We're going to work with our energy skin that's on the outside of our energy field and keep our energy in. Okay. That doesn't mean that we're keeping other people out. Even with our physical skin, there are, ways if somebody touches you, you feel those tingles. It feels really good and it feels like emotional connection and love can happen there. That can also happen with our energy skin. It's not for keeping everybody out. It's for having healthy boundaries, healthy skin to keep our energy from just falling out, right? Okay, so the way that we boost our energy skin is find that center again, your center. There we go. And that should be really potent. As soon as you put your hands down there, just below your belly button and reach into the very center of your body, then boom, because you already did that. So that should all be like whoosh. You should be able to feel that really fast. If you don't, that's okay. Just go through that process again of growing that ball of light. It should be easier the second time, right? Until you become completely engulfed in it, like an energy bubble or energy suit. And then you're going to find that central energy channel, connected deep into earth, connected up into the heavens. And imagine that each of your chakras are all nice and balanced and aligned with that central energy channel in energetic harmony. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to imagine that all of that harmony is singing. It's almost like singing out to the very edges of where your energy are. And then you're going to feel, see if you can imagine your hands just going way, way out there and feeling the edges of your energy. And that is your energy skin. We're going to ask your energy skin to double. Double in strength, double in um, visibility or feelability. Yes, exactly. We're going to ask it to double again. Even bigger. That's right. And what we're going to do with all that space that our energy skin is taking up, we have lots and lots of layers of our physical skin. So it's okay to have double and double again of our energy skin too. And what we can put into that energy skin is we can pad that energy skin with self-confidence, self-love, self-respect, respecting our own limitations for giving, respecting healthy boundaries with other people, respecting our own needs, and respecting our worthiness and our ability and our righteousness or rightfulness or um, you know the rightness of receiving everything that we need. There we go. Good. Boom. Excellent. Nice going. Super good. Okay, so that's only step one of my best energy practices. And this is what I do for healing safety before every single session that I do, and also at the beginning of my day before I even start my day. And I often also do some other stuff with my office as well. Like making sure that there isn't any weird lurking energy in the corners, and that because I'm in an office building with other people, and whatever stuff happens. Um, I also communicate with my plants. I connect with all the crystals that are in my shop, and I just like really bring all the energy together into the intentions for the day. Um, Sometimes I even name the people that I'm going to be seeing for the day, my clients, and anchor those well wishes, those desires for healing, for everything that they need. Okay, so that is number two, setting intentions and boundaries. So often the best way to set that kind of thing is out loud. Say it out loud. Because what happens when you speak with your vocal cords is that it creates a resonance, and that resonance is energy, and it flows out around you, and it affects your own energy field, your energy skin, which is your energy boundaries. Okay, so when you state those boundaries out loud, it's much more potent than if you just think them in your head. Another safety practice that I really love is using door guardians or window guardians, or both. Actually, I use both. So, there's specific ways that you can request a door guardian or a window guardian. Sometimes they're fairies, sometimes they are guides. Sometimes, I've had one of my door guardians, his name was Door Guardian, not very creative, but there you go. Anyway, he always wore black, like this shroud of black, and it was his way of being invisible, being like concealing his own nature was for protection and concealment. And with crystals, or this is why black is thought of as a protection color. So anyway, yeah, that was that. I've also contracted with fairy beings to act as window guardians, and they often want something. And anytime you are working with a spiritual being, you need to make sure that you are offering up an exchange, because nothing comes for free. There's an exchange that has to happen there. So you ask them what they want, and sometimes it's really simple. Sometimes you have to do stuff. Like one of this person that I was working with, she had a rose bush that was ailing. It was not doing well outside the front of her window. And so the fairies said, okay, I will be a window guardian if you take care of that rose bush and make it happier. So that was the exchange. Okay, the next safety practice that I really, really feel like is super, super important, especially if you are working with somebody who is needy, super needy, or if you're working in a profession where you're touching people um, or sending distant healing to. So one of the techniques that I use is I use energy gloves and an energy apron. So when I'm dealing with some really yucky stuff, it's just like going into surgery. You put on the gloves, you put on the apron because it's not okay to bring that energy into your hands. It's not okay to get, to bring that energy into your body. So if you have an energy apron and energy gloves, it's just a reminder. It's like it reminds you, okay, yeah, right. Okay. And so that way, if you're helping to remove something yucky, an attachment or, an illness or something like that, then you're drawing that away. You're not bringing it into yourself. You're not like, getting yourself splashed accidentally. You're not like allowing it to absorb into your hands. Just keeps it all nice and clean. Safety practice number 5 is, I think, the most important. And that one is to get help before you need it. Because by the time you really need it, it's not that it's too late, it's that it's going to take a lot longer than you really want it to turn things around. Finding somebody that you feel safe with, asking for help from, and really getting the degree of help that you need. So it's kind of like with anything, if you get the discount plumber, you may end up with discount plumbing work that doesn't really work for very long, or that does more damage than good. So make sure that you get the actual help that you need from the right practitioner. Okay. There it is. Those are my 5 best safety practices if you feel like you are in a position that you need help, or you're not really sure if you need help right now and you just want to have a chat with me. Go ahead and tap that link that's in the description and we can discuss it. I'm totally, I'm open to discussing things. Like I say, I believe in free will, and I will present, what I'm seeing, and you can present what you're seeing, and we can come together and find out if we're a good match for each other, and if I have what it is that you actually need in order to be a healthy healer. Right? Yay! Okay, oh my gosh. I think that's it. Any questions? Go ahead and pop, if you're watching the replay, go ahead and pop your questions into the comment, and I will answer them as best I can, as quickly as I can. All righty. Well, I totally appreciate you. Don't forget about the first degree Reiki class that's coming up in I think May 21st, something like that. And I will see you in the next masterclass. I will let you know when that's coming, certainly in the next couple of weeks. But this weekend, I'm being kidnapped for a friend's birthday party, and I'm really excited about it. So I'm going on to a tiny little mini vacation for a few days. Yay, me! Get to get out of town. Anyway, love you very much. Many, many blessings to you. Remember to keep your energy nice and boosted, and to be balanced in your receiving. and not only receiving, but retaining the healthy energy that you're needing. Okay. Last bit of wisdom. All right. Love and see you next time. Have a wonderful week and weekend.